Hey everybody, so I just wanted to share with you today how we're getting on with our hexagon cardigan. So the last video showed you how to complete the arms, the decreasing and the cuffs. The episode before that was the hood, and before that it was the main body. But we've got to the stage now where our cardigan needs some length adding on. Now I like to at some point add a nice edge into this, so what I tend to do is be careful when it comes down to these bottoms. Now yes, we need to add some length, but you've got to bear in mind that you want a good inch if you're putting a different edging around it. And as the votes have gone at the moment, I put it to you guys as to whether you wanted it as an open cardigan or whether you wanted it as a attached hoodie, a pullover hoodie jumper. And as far as the votes are so far, it's the hoodie that people are going for. So to get to that, I would then normally, I've got to this point, I need to add a few inches of length. Then once I've done that, I will go around the entire cardigan, so all around the front, length, up the front and around the hood and back down. And I do that for a couple of rows. And it works out nicely if you're going to put an edging on to use a colour that's different to this but will go well with it. So you want a colour that blends nicely, so you can even use a colour that's already in the cardigan, bring that to here, and then those two colours match and it gets seamlessly sewn together then. But because it's going to be a hoodie, you would normally, if I pull this down a little bit, just excuse the markers from where we attach the hood, when you're doing a hoodie, you don't sew together there. So with having that little bit of edging, it allows us to have that hoodie jumper open and then attach it a little bit further around here. But by putting a nice edging on, it then allows us to bring that around the entire hood as well, all around here, and it brings everything together nicely. So back to this video, which is going to be adding a couple of inches of length to the bottom, because as it is right now, it's a bit more like a cropped hoodie as opposed to a full length one. So go and get everything together, get your hook, get your wool, and let's get cracking. So I'm going to begin right in the corner here, and this is the bottom of our cardigan. That right there, where those little tails are here, is where we joined the two pieces together. So that's why I said you don't need to worry too much about these pieces. Now all this will go together nice and seamlessly, because I'll just do a cluster of 3 here and I'll feed it along like we've been doing the entire cardigan. The only place it will be slightly different is here, where you've sewn the two pieces together. So you'd be doing a 3 in here, but that would just be a 3 double crochet because you've got nothing to go into. Then you've got this huge space here to get back over here. So what I tend to do there is I'll do a cluster of 3 double crochets there, and then in this section here, because I don't want this huge gap going between those two, if you look, you can see there where you've got your double crochet, can't you? And the same on that side. So what I would do there is put 1 normal double crochet in there, and then I would do kind of like a front post double crochet here, just to try and bring it in a little bit. And you should be able to just about get your hook around the back of there to come out of this side and bring up a loop. Now once you've done that, then I would come across and I'd do a double crochet in here, and that will then give you your cluster of 3. I know it might seem a bit awkward, but you'll get what I'm getting at in a minute when we get there. So tie on, let's get into this corner and let's get cracking with it, shall we? So start by chaining 3, and like I said before, that's going to be a cluster, so do another 2 double crochet into that same space. Okay, there's your first one. Now I'll be going over to here, so 1 double crochet, again American terminology, and then we'll be doing the normal ones, which is dropping down here like we've been doing all along and bringing that through. Keep your tension loose on this one because I don't want that corner to start curling up on us. Okay, and we just keep going with that all the way along until we get to that area directly in the middle that I was just talking about. Okay, keep going with that. And I'll meet you right in that middle piece. Now remember, when you get to that other corner, you're not carrying it along to go up the front, so you'll be stopping, chaining one, turning, and then you'll be doing the exact same in that corner as to what you've started with. Always make sure if you start with a 3, end with a 3, then you'll begin by chaining 3 and leaving a space and jumping over to the next, just like what we've been doing when we've been doing rows for the other part of the cardigan. Okay, I'll meet you back in that corner, in that part there, right in the middle. So we're just coming back up to that section now, which I was talking about in the middle. So here we're still not quite there. So let me just pop this one through. Okay, so now we're here, which is that side of the corner where they've joined. So we'll just put 3 double crochet in there because there's nothing below for us to go into. So once you've done a few rows, you'll end up coming down into this and it'll all blend in, you won't even notice. Right, so this is the section that I was on about. Now if I just went from here, or should I say, yeah, from there right over to here, that is a huge gap. So you need to just think out of the box a little bit. So if you popped 1 double crochet into there, it's not necessarily a stitch, but it'll work if you just go, see how I've just done that there? So I've got 1 double crochet here, okay, and then I will then go slip your hook through there, okay. Now pull that through, 1, 2 and 3. So that would then count as your mosaic, and then just pop a double crochet in between those double crochets beneath. Now although we know right now that isn't exactly as the pattern goes, as the rows go on you will not notice that that isn't actually in a space. So don't worry too much about it, but just pop it there because it just breaks up that huge gap. And then all you need to do then is come over to that one, okay, which would then just be just an average 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3. So you see there now, you can barely tell what I've done just there, but once you've got a couple of rows on ahead of that, you'll be absolutely fine. So it just breaks up that huge space by popping another cluster into there, and then you just carry on then like you have done with the rest of the cardigan in that mosaic pattern. Like that. There we go. And just carry that on now until you get to that other corner, and I'll meet you there. So we're just back in that corner now. We've just got to do that one last cluster. Now we began with a cluster of 3 in the corner, so that's how I want to end. Okay, now chain 1, and let's turn. So this is what we're doing now. So because of the 3 underneath, I've chained 1, so chain another 2, and that counts as a double crochet, and go back into this one. Now remember, we're working on the back side of our work, so you want to drop down and go into that middle stitch. Through 2, through 2, and through the last 2, and then back into that same space for a double crochet. And basically just carrying on like that. Now when you get into the last corner, you'll finish with the chain 3, which is a double crochet, and then again as you come back round, you'll then put a cluster of 3 back in there, and it's just as simple as that really. But I would probably do another maybe three rows, possibly a 4, just to give that extra little bit of length, and then we'll start discussing about edging, what we're going to do, how many rows we're going to do it, and then attaching up the middle. So that's the beginning of this video, and we'll keep going. If you have any issues or questions, all you got to do is pop them in the comments below, and I will get back to you. Hey everyone, so I'm just at the stage now where I finished off those bottom few rows, which is where I left you at last time, and I've done a total of 4 rounds from this corner to this corner, just to increase a little bit of the length, because my cardigan was still a little bit too short. Now I'm at the stage now where, and I'm sure you are if you've been following along with me, where you need to add some sort of an edging. Now not everybody chooses to have an edging, it is very, very personal preference. So if that's the case, then just, you know, do what you do to finish this off. But for me personally, I like to do an edging all the way around. So even though across social media I left it to you guys as to whether I closed this off as a full cardigan or where I fastened it all off as a pullover hoodie, and the votes so far are still for the pullover hoodie. So it looks like that's what I'm going to be doing. Now there's a few different ways you can do it. You can just do it as a normal double crochets if that's what you choose to do. But I'm going to have to think carefully about what I do up here, because I'm going to be joining these 2 sides together. But if you look at the bottom, when I join those, you've got a pink side, and then we've got a sort of a grey side. So if I do an edging, at least it will bring these colours together, so that when I attach, it'll be seamless. Now for the bottom, I would normally have done the front post double crochet and the back post double crochet, and I still might, I'm not decided yet, and then I'm going to have to try and keep it simple going up here, because I want it to seem seamless when I bring the two sides together. But an edging for me works really well on the hood. It just really brings it all in, brings the entire cardigan in together as one big piece. Or pullover hoodie if that's what you're doing, if you're doing the same as me. So the next stage really, like I said, we've finished everything off. We've got our arms, we've got our hood, we've got the body, we've got the length that we want. So now we need to choose what sort of colour edgings we're going to go for. So first I thought this one, because it'll go nicely with this side. It's a nice basic yarn, it's all one colour, which again is what I want for the edging. That's a must, or it is for me. It doesn't have to be for you. Again, it's entirely your eye, your work. Go for what works for you colour wise. But when I held this up, I don't know, the colour's a bit meh, doesn't appeal to me as such. I think I bought this for an old blanket that I was doing a while ago, but the more I look at it against the cardigan, the more I don't like it. So no, that's a goner. Then I thought, well, I quite like the grey, but together, yeah, it goes okay with this colour and it matches in there. But I just think that might be a bit too dark, and then it's going to draw the eye to where I've stitched together. So again, no. So then I found a little secret stash of this one, and I thought that might just about it. It's a bit chunkier than I wanted, but colour wise, yeah, I think it works. So what do you think, guys? Would you have gone with the others, or would you go with this? I'm going to have a go with this and see what it's like. If it looks too heavy, then I'll have to think again about one of the others, perhaps the grey, or I might even have a look to see whether I've got a lighter grey. But for now, I'm going to try this. So it is the Stylecraft, and let's have a look what it says. So it says, if you turn it the right way up, bear with me because I'm just looking off camera. So it says to use a 6mm hook. I'll probably go one smaller because I've used smaller than that. I've used a 4 to do the cardigan, so I might try it with a 5 and meet it in the middle. But the chunky might work, because I know in past cardigans having the chunkier edging has given it a little bit more stability and it's not been quite as floppy. So that might just work. So we'll see. I'll get everything together. You get what you're going to be working with. We'll start at the bottom here with double crochets. We'll go all around the bottom and then we'll work our way up the sides and around the hood. So go and get all your bits and pieces and I'll meet you at the beginning. Right guys, quick change of tact. I've gone for a nice silver instead because the yarn, unfortunately I like the colour, but it was just a little bit too thick for what we needed. So I've gone with this instead, which should, I think by eye, look rather nice in compared to the yarn that we've used. So it's still the Stylecraft 100g ball and it's in the silver. And it's just a 4mm hook, so that's what I'm going to be starting off with. Now I'm in them bottom corners, and like I said before, I'm going to have to think carefully about this one. So I think I might end up doing what I did with the arms, because I don't want these great big gaps all along the bottom. So we're going to have to, just for this first row, just along the bottom, nowhere else, I think we're better off doing those half double crochets like we did on the sleeves, just to bring those gaps in smaller. So I've chained 3 there just because it's the starting row. We'll be going under this one, and remember what I did with those arms. I went through the first 2, but then I went through all of them, okay? And then to bring that back in, I then yarn over through the same space, pull it through and go through them all, and that just counted as a half double crochet in my book. So over to the next, again we're not leaving any spaces, so pull up and go through those because that is your first half double crochet. Under there and pull it through. Again, you don't want your work pulling down tight, but I just want you to make that gap smaller. And like I said, by doing this, it enables us then to think about what we're going to do with the next row. So once we've done all that, we can then go into double crochets all along the top of the row without having these huge gaps in between, like there. So for the next row, I can do 3 double crochet in that and I won't have an issue. But if I just went ahead and put 3 double crochet through there, then it would look like a huge gap. So we're going to be doing that all the way along to the bottom corner on the opposite side. So don't think about going up the front of the cardigan yet. We're just on those bottom rows where you've just extended for your extra length, and it's just a way of finishing off that mosaic pattern and preparing us to go to that next round where we want to start with that edging. Now obviously this is a beginning of the edging because I'm doing it with that silver because I still want to draw that in, and I think by just finishing it in that colour and then enabling us to go on to the next row, I think that'll just finish the cardigan off nicely. But yeah, so far so good. I like that colour, it looks nice. I do love the Stylecraft yarns. I've always been a big fan of them. And they always feel nice against the skin, don't they? I don't know if you're like me, but when I buy yarn, and I used to go into shops where I could buy yarn, I think everybody does it, we always give it a bit of a feel, don't we? And if it's scratchy, it goes back on the shelf. At least with the Stylecraft, we know that that isn't going to happen. It's not itchy, it's not scratchy. There's another one. Yeah, see, it's finishing it off nice, that. And that colour will look lovely against the hood as well to finish that hood off nicely. And so normally when I'm doing cardigans, I do like to do the front post and back post double crochets for that ridged pattern. But with this being a pullover, I don't think I'm going to be doing that this time. I think it'll be more of a double crochet because at the end of the day, I think it's a nice pattern as it is. I don't think I need to add more texture to it. So I think after this row, it will be double crochets round. But we'll see when we get there. Oh, sorry, I've just done a double there because I'm chattering at the same time. Not concentrating. Now, I know some of you will probably know better and say, oh, well, you're not doing this or you're not doing that. But like I've said, all the way along from the very first video, it's my way, and that's all I'm sharing. I'm not sharing anything too exciting, just how I put my cardigans together or jumpers. And so far, so good. Comments have been positive. So thank you for that, guys. I've really appreciated all your support throughout doing this. Right, so all I want you to do then is carry on doing that all the way around till you get to the opposite corner, and I'll meet you back there. Right guys, I've just got to the end of that row, so I've covered all along the bottom edge in those half double crochets, and now I'm up to the first corner, which will take me up to the right side of my body if I put the jumper on or the cardigan on. Now what you've got to watch here, if you bear with me, so this here is where we've added the extra length on, so it's slightly different to how it looks here. So to blend that through, the only way we can do it is by doing double crochets as we go. So we've got 3 double crochet in there, 3 in there, 3 in the next one, and so on until we start getting to here, and 3 in there, and then into the next one. Now I would have liked to have carried on with the half double crochets because they do look nice, but you would have a clear difference in stitches there. So carry on, keep it with your double crochets, keep it simple, because what you've got to remember is you've got a lot of detail in your cardigan, and when you're sewing those edges together you want it to be a nice seamless edge, and that's why I'm gone same colours. So in here again, we're in the corner, I've just done the half double crochets and a double crochet. So from there I want you to chain 3, which I've just done. And then what we're going to do, this is the mosaic stitch as we've done our rounds, but if you move that, you've got a gap here, okay, and it's in that gap where I want you to put your double crochets. So UK terms would be treble crochets, so you would be doing 3 of those. See, this is why I don't write patterns, because I kind of work it as I see it rather than planning ahead, writing it down. I just like to go for it and see what the results are. And if that means that you've got to undo a little bit and go back and try something else, then that is what I will do. So there's one set of 3 double crochets. So the next lot will be going into there. And over to the next gap. And the next one. Okay, so that is now where I've added the length to the cardigan. So now I'm starting to come back to where the bottom of the cardigan originally was, which is here. So I need to bring this work and bring it over to here. So I'm going to stick 3 in there, which would have initially been the corner. Obviously I've lengthened this cardigan, so we're doing 3 in there instead. And then what I'll most likely do once I've done this front section, I probably won't go back to that very bottom section now, because I'm going to start attaching the cardigan once I've got something of an edging on the go. So once I've got all this done, then I will sew the cardigan together so that we're making it into a hooded pullover. And then once that's done, I'll then go around the entire bottom just to finish it off. You see, you almost want to carry on the pattern here, but you've got to stop somewhere and you've got to make it all come together. Now, if you weren't too fussed about having an edging and you just wanted to join the sections together, then you could, I suppose, go in there and do the half double crochets like what we've done at the bottom. basically the last pullover sweatshirt that I did. I think I did it all in the granny stitch. I don't think I've done one in the mosaic. So it's a new one for me really. Apart from with the cotton jumper that I did in the mosaic stitch. But that was a V-neck sweater. So keep going with that until we get to that section there, which will then start to lead you along the hood. So stop there and we'll work it together. Right guys, so I've just worked along this edge here, and you can see we've started there and worked all the way along, which still looks really nice and neat, even though you think it's just basic double crochets or treble crochets in the UK. So we've just gotten to this now, which is about to bring us up to our hood, and we want to follow that all the way around this hood, and it's that that brings the hood together. It gives this structure and it stops being all floppy. It's still a nice hood, but it'll just give that finished edge. So all we'll be doing is that I've just popped 3 double crochets in there, okay, and then we'll be going along now just like we've done along that edge at the bottom. So what you've got to look for is that gap there. So this will be your mosaic stitch that you've done, and we've carried it all the way around. So make sure you don't go into that stitch there. You want to just pull that back, and you've got that space there, and that is where I'm going to be putting 3 double crochet. So let's get to it. Now keeping your stitches or your tension pretty tight here, because I want to start bringing the work in. So I've done the first double crochet there because there was a gap, and I'm now going to be going over to here. I'm going to put 3 in there to begin with, because I want one in every gap I can get into, just to bring it in nice and tightly. So 1, excuse me, I'm all fingers and thumbs today. Again, keep a good hold on that tension, because I don't want you making these gaps any bigger than what they already are. And even though you think, oh, that is quite big, that, but when you put the work back, that is what it'll look like as your edge. So it actually looks nice. You don't end up with great big holes, which is what you think to start with. And that's basically it really, guys. You're just working your way around. It's just because it's a different coloured cardigan, it's changed with the yarn colours. For me, to finish it off nice and seamlessly, I want to do that in one colour, and it will work out nicely when both sides are together and attached. So yeah, so just carry on doing that all the way around until you get back to this bottom edge. I just wanted to add, guys, while we're working on the hood, that if it starts to go a little bit wavy, you know, like this here, as if there's too many stitches, then just use your visual on that hole there, and if visually that looks small, put 2 crochets in instead of 3, and it should just bring it back in and give your hood a bit of stability. So don't be panicking if you start to see this like that there, but just knock it on the head a bit if it starts doing that a little bit too much. If you've got a great big gap like this, then yeah, put 3 in. But if you've only got a small gap like that, then just put 2 in. It doesn't matter, you know, and it'll all work out in the end. It's just why you give that your hood that little bit of strength to hold its shape. So don't be panicking, just put 2 stitches in it instead of 3. It's not rocket science. You've just got to go off your own experience and feel, really. So just go ahead and pop 2 in like I've just done there and carry on. Right guys, I've gone all the way around it roughly, on this side as well, and I've also done the hood. Now at this point on your hood here, it'll still look a little bit wavy, but don't worry too much about that. And when you get to the final corner, cut your yarn off and tie a knot, because what we're going to do now is sew this up together. But what you've got to remember is that it's a hoodie, or you know, the one that I'm making is a hoodie. So when you wear a hoodie pullover sweatshirt, the hood doesn't just suddenly get closed up there, does it? You've not just got the hood space and that is it. So what I tend to do is put a stitch marker just a little bit further down from where your hood begins. So I would normally put a stitch marker in around there, okay? So that I know that that is where I want to sew from. And I turn the jacket inside out and we'll sew that up. Now once that's done, I then go back in here with the same thread, the same yarn, and I single crochet then all the way around, and that corrects any waviness that you've started here on the hood. It pulls it all in nicely and it will finish it off nicely, I promise you. So cut off on that corner and finish your work for now. Pop your marker in if you're doing the same as me, and we'll stitch that together. So I've turned the sweatshirt inside out and I've popped my trusty pegs back on here and here, and all I'm going to do now is attach to here, stop there. I've left myself a nice big long thread from where we finished off in this corner, so I won't run out. In fact, I might have left myself a little bit too much, but better too much than too little, isn't it? And I'm just going to do it exactly the same as what I did on the arms and along the shoulders and back. I'm just going back into, just to try and keep it as smooth as possible. If you think that you've got a little bit too much of a gap going on, then just whiz your needle back round and thread it back through. But just concentrate on keeping it nice and neat for this, because it's right at the centre of your work. So you don't want to be making a mess of this bit. If you're going to make a mess, do it at the back, not the front. So basically just carry on doing that until you get to that stitch marker, and at which case tie a knot and cut off and weave in any ends that you've got, and I'll take you through to the next step. Right guys, so you can see here now that that is where the original stitches that I've just done, and when you look here it does look really nice, like it was supposed to be that way. So that yarn was a good find, wasn't it? Thankfully. So what we're going to do now is just do the finishing touches to this part of the hood. So get your yarn, get your hook again, and we'll get back on with that. So this is the V-neck here, and this is the start of the hood around here. Now I don't like to cast on when it's going to be visible as to where you've started, so I tend to start around here, because when you've got the cardigan on, the first thing people see is this area, isn't it? So cast on a little bit further along. I like to tie on with a knot so there's no chance of anything coming loose a little bit later on down the line. Chain 1. And all I'm going to do with this is literally single crochet all the way around. Now, in the UK, that is classed as a double. American terminology, again, single crochet to me. So once you've done that, pop a stitch marker in, just so you know when you're coming back round to that same marker. So let's go again through. And I like to do this quite tightly because I want to start bringing the work nicely in, nice and tight, and then it just gives that hood that little bit of stability and shape. You see, at this point when I was doing the cardigans, I was doing the front row, the front post and back post double crochet, and that really did give a lovely finish to the hood. But with this one, obviously, with me being a overhead sweater, the front post, back post double crochet just wouldn't work with this. It'd be too bulky, too chunky. So that's why I try to keep it as simple as possible when I'm doing the V-necks. So it's just single crochet really. Like I said, I've only done the double crochet there just to try and bring the hood into things. So like I say, I don't just like to finish the pattern and then that's it. I like the finishing touches to be just right as well. Now once I've done this, even though I've attached the hood and I have done those few bottom rounds, I will still be going around that bottom area. Just a few more rounds just to bring it all in. That's why I didn't go too far before when I said to you, don't go too crazy just yet with adding length, because I knew that once I'd attached together, I would still want to add more length as I went. And I just do that in the new colour that we've got, which would be this grey for me, but whatever it is that you've chosen. So you can see there where I've finished off from the stitches that we've just done. So I like to now bring this down, so at least it's got that thickness to it, so it matches all the way around. And I'm hoping that yours is looking something like mine as time goes on. Fingers crossed. If you aren't having any trouble or any areas that's starting to wave and you're worried that you've got too many stitches, you can always pop the odd decrease here and there. You know, it's not the end of the world. But I do think that once you've done this next round, it should start to even itself out nicely. But again, you can always do another round. It doesn't just have to be one, you know, it's only single crochets. So, you know, if you want to do a couple of rounds, go for it. I mean, I might next, like I said, I like to make these up sometimes as I go with what's in front of me at the time. Different yarns work differently as well. So, like I said, most cardigans and jumpers that I've done have all got somewhat of a difference, even though they're all based off a similar pattern. Basically what takes me at the time. So yeah, just carry on like that all the way around till you get back to this stitch marker. Right, so I've just got back to that stitch marker there and slip stitched through, but all in all, our hood is looking fab. It's hard to see when it's all laid out like this, but once I steam that, it'll all sit nice and smoothly, and like I said, all nicely put together. It's all looking nice here. It's being finished off nicely. So all we've got left to do now is add some more length to this bottom, which I think I will probably do with a few rows of front post and back post double crochet. So your first round will be all double crochets, and then begin front row, back row, front row, back row, front row, back row, and so on until you get all the way around, and I will meet you as I start that. Right, so I'm just getting ready now to start the front row, back row double post, and I've just chained on 1, 2, 3, and we'll be putting another 3 in there and carrying on to get to our front row, back post double crochet. So you're only double crocheting into the stitches that are already there for you. So you're just doing this the entire way around your cardigan. Okay, carry on with that until you get back to the beginning. Right guys, I've just finished that row, which was all double crochet into the stitches that were already there from the previous round. So now we're going to start the front row and front post, back post double crochet. So this is how I do it. I've changed one, I've slip stitched over, I've chained one up, and I'm going to be going into this stitch here, which is a little bit like the stitch we've been doing the whole time, but it's not. And that one then is through those two, and that is through there. So that is your first front post double crochet. I'll get my words out today. So pop a stitch marker in there so you know when you're coming to that one again. And now this one is going to be going into the back, which means you're coming from around the back and back out the back. Pull your yarn through and pull it up, and then you're going through those two and through those two. Okay, so the next one is the front, so yarn over underneath through the first two, through the second two. So it's not quite like the last, it's easier really. Now we'll go in the back, so we come in from the back and we go out the back. We pick up a loop here. Oh, she says. Back, back, pick your yarn up, pull it through two and through two, forward. There we go. Through two and through two, and that is basically all we do. We just carry on front, back, front, back and front again, and we do that the entire way around. Now when you come to your next row, okay, so when you get to this, slip stitch into the top of that stitch and chain 1, and then you will be coming back down and going through this one again, and you stick to that routine: front, back, front, back, front, and so on and so forth. And it just gives you a ridged effect like what you've been doing on top of one another, and it creates that all the way along. Now I would say if you're going to do this, do a minimum of 3 rows, but you may even need to do 4. So see how you go on. I'm going to go for 4 rounds, and then I will check back in with you and see how you're doing, and I'll let you know whether I need to go any more. So I'll just recap. So we've just done a front, which means that the next one is a back. Okay, now front. Now it's the back again. Front. And keep an eye on your stitches that you're not missing any, because if you do, it will stand out in your work. But yeah, that's it. You can already see the ridges appearing, but the more you do, the more that ridge will appear, and it gives a really nice effect once finished. So keep going with that, and I will meet you back when I'm on row 4. Hey everyone, welcome to the finished article. So here's the cardigan we've just completed, and the only part I didn't do on camera was the ridging for the end. I've showed you how I was doing it, but I didn't show you me finishing it. And this is it. I did the 4 rows, which I said at the beginning that I think that would do it, and it did. So there she is, the finished cardigan. Now I hope yours is looking something similar to this, maybe a different sizing. Like I said, I did say use your own initiative at times. Here's the cardigan arm. It's looking lovely. It feels really lovely and soft as well. There's your cuff. There's our little bit of a V-neck there. And if I just turn it around slightly, there is our finished hood. She's a little bit damp at the minute because I tend to put them on my dummy and then I spray them down just as a form of blocking the cardigan. But yeah, there she is in all her glory. I'm really pleased with the results, and this is just my way of saying thank you for all your support. And if you've enjoyed the videos, give us a thumbs up, and thanks for joining, guys.